We're ready to begin Chapter 5 of our study of the geography of the Americas, and we are moving on to the continent of South America, which is located south of the United States and Mexico, and South America is one of the 7 continents that we learned about. Follow along in your student reader or on the screen with me and read with me if you can. We're going to start on page 27 and for South America. There are 12 countries on the continent of South America, but more than half of South America's population lives on the larger eastern side of this continent, in the country of Brazil. In fact, Brazil is the largest country in South America. Brazil is just a little bit smaller than the United States. As you have discovered long ago, a lot of South America was colonized by Spain. Today, many people there speak Spanish. However, people in Brazil speak Portuguese because people from Portugal settled there. This sign on a beach in Brazil says "danger" in Portuguese. So, boys and girls, what I just told you, Spain and Portugal are in the continent of Europe. And many years ago, people from Spain and Portugal colonized, which means they moved to South America and started living there. The Andes mountain range is in South America. The highest mountain in the Western Hemisphere is Aconcagua, which is in the southern Andes, in the country of Argentina. The highest and largest lake in South America is Lake Titicaca, which sits in 2 countries, Bolivia and Peru. And the second longest river in the world, the Amazon River, is on this continent too. After we're done reading, boys and girls, we are going to be labeling a map. So listen for all of these places we're talking about because we're going to label them on a map. Much of the world's largest tropical rainforest is in Brazil. It is called the Amazon rainforest because the Amazon River winds its way through the hot, steamy forest. The Amazon rainforest is home to millions of different kinds of plants and animals that you can't find anywhere else in the world. Large areas of the rainforest have been cut down so that the lumber or wood can be sold. The rainforest is also being cleared so that the land can be used for farming, ranching, and other things. Scientists worry that if too much of the rainforest is cut down, the plants and animals in it will die. One incredible creature found there is the completely see-through glass frog. Also, many of the rainforest plants, such as cinchona or quinine bark, are used in modern medicine. The bark is the rough outer layer of a bush or a tree. It's like the tree's outer skin. And modern medicine, boys and girls, when they talk about modern medicine, refers to the medicines and treatments that we use today when people are sick or injured. Quinine is used to treat a disease called malaria. People can get malaria if they are bitten by mosquitoes carrying that disease. There are some countries in South America where malaria is present. We don't need to worry about that here in the United States or where we live so much. And you can see a picture there of the see-through, the glass frog. Pretty amazing. On the north coast of South America are the 2 countries of Colombia and Venezuela. Northern Colombia sits on the Caribbean Sea, and western Colombia is on the Pacific Ocean. Colombia is famous for its delicious coffee. Venezuela is on the northern coast of South America. Venezuela has 2 seasons, a rainy season and a dry season, unlike our 4 seasons that we have. Venezuela, along with other South American countries, fought Spain for its freedom. In the early 1800s, a Venezuelan named Simón Bolívar helped lead the fight. Thanks to him, in 1821, Colombia and Venezuela won their independence. Large parts of the South American countries of Peru, Ecuador, and Bolivia are very high up in the Andes Mountains. More than half of the people in these 3 countries are indigenous people who have lived there for a very long time. The equator, an imaginary line halfway between the North and the South Poles, runs right through Ecuador. In fact, Ecuador is the Spanish word for equator. This word indigenous people, that means that they are native to that area. It means they were the first people to live in a place. For example, Native Americans are indigenous to what is now the United States. The Aztec are indigenous to what is now Mexico. And the Maya are indigenous to what is now Guatemala. So it's the people who were first living on that land. You probably think that Ecuador is very hot since it is on the equator. Well, you are partly right. Part of Ecuador is on the Pacific coast, and there it is hot and wet. But you can actually find snow right on the equator in Ecuador. The mountain peaks are so high and the air is so cold that the snow there never melts. Because it is hot and wet along the coast, it is a good place to grow bananas. Ecuador grows and sells more bananas than any other country in South America. And Ecuador is one of the world's largest growers of cacao, the main ingredient for chocolate. Cacao is a bean that is the main ingredient in the chocolate. And if you've ever been to Hershey's Chocolate World, they talk about the cacao bean and you can see it there. Peru, like Ecuador, has a coast on the Pacific Ocean. Part of the Andes mountain range is also in Peru. The mighty Amazon River begins in Peru. Ships from the Atlantic Ocean travel more than 2,000 miles up the Amazon River to the Peruvian city of Iquitos. This means Peru can transport goods across the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, similar to how they transfer goods in the Panama Canal, connecting the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans. Like Ecuador and Peru, a large part of the South American country of Bolivia is high up in the Andes Mountains. Most people in Bolivia live in the mountains. Bolivia has more indigenous people than any other country in South America. As you have discovered, part of Lake Titicaca, the highest navigable lake in the world, is in Bolivia. The largest salt flats in the world are also there. Those are piles of salt that you're looking at in that picture. The word navigable, that's a big word. Navigable means that it's deep enough and wide enough for ships to travel on it. Chile is the longest and most narrow country in the world. This narrow country runs down the west coast of South America. Although Chile is only about 60 miles wide, it is more than 4,000 miles long. Cape Horn is the most southerly point in the country. Chile is also home to the Atacama Desert, the driest desert in the world. East of Chile are the countries of Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. There is an area of large, flat plains where grasses grow that spreads from Argentina to Uruguay. These plains are called the Pampas. The Pampas is very much like the Great Plains in the United States, where wheat grows and cattle graze. In fact, cowboys called gauchos still herd cattle on the Pampas. Paraguay is one of the world's top producers of soybeans. Soybeans are an important crop used to feed farm animals and are also used in many of the foods we eat. Cattle just simply means cows, boys and girls. I'm sure that many of you knew that. We have come to the end of our travels. It's not only fun to learn about the world in which we live, but it's important too. The more we know about our world, the more we will understand how to care for it and for each other. So remember that books will take you wherever you wish to go and teach you many of the things you need to know. Happy travels!